Hello everybody and welcome back to Kerbal Space Program, where as promised we are through our time warp here. We can see Jewel off in the distance here, just barely. I actually thought we were looking away from it until I just noticed it right here. But yeah, there it is in the background. So we're just going to get this in its orbit here. Only the one burn, this is all it's going to be, and that'll be absolutely fine. So we've got about 20 seconds until this burn here. It'll only be about a 1 minute burn. So that's really not so bad. 3, 2, 1, mark. Okay, so I'm going to physics warp this burn just to get through it that little bit quicker. Or at least we'll physics warp part of it. Okay, so that's looking good. We'll come out of physics warp now. And we'll just stop this burn about now. That'll do. Cool. So that looks good. We are now in position over Jewel. Excellent. I want to set Jewel as our focus here, because I actually don't know how many moons there are here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so there's 5 total moons. Now, there's been discussion, particularly with Heather Jared on the Discord, about doing all of these colonies simultaneously. I'd like to investigate that. It's gonna be complicated, for sure. I have concerns about lag, like the amount of lag docking them together and then moving out here at once will cause. I think it'll be fairly extensive. But let's hop back to the Space Center and do some back-of-the-envelope calculations. Now, the plan is not to lift all of them simultaneously. That would be vaguely insane. Or would it? No, it certainly would. That would be vaguely insane indeed. Let's see, 5 is actually the ideal number. Okay, I have a dumb idea. First thing we're going to do before we look into that is we're going to go into the mission control and see if there's anything we want here. Enter the atmosphere of Jewel. We're not going to do that right now, although we could send a probe there at some point. Apparently it doesn't expire. Well, it expires in 3 days, but after we accept it, it doesn't have any... Yeah, it doesn't have any expiration date now. So we can do that at some point. Let's see, 500 units of ore from Gilly. That's super easy. We can do that right now. What else do we have here? Science data from space around Jewel. That's easy. I like it. Okay, anything else that we want to do here? Not currently. So let's head back to the satellite that we just put over Jewel. We can use that to get that science data from space around Jewel. So we're going to head on down to our long-range communications machine, and we'll fly that. We're just going to grab our thermometer data here. And then we're going to need to go to Gilly. Okay, so where's that thermometer at? Here it is. Beautiful. We'll log that temperature, and we will transmit this back. Cool. Data received, contract done. So next up, we're going to head over to Gilly here. Let me get zoomed on out. We're going to need to focus on Eve, get zoomed on in. Not quite that far. Head over to Gilly, get zoomed on in here, and we'll grab our colony core. So we'll switch to that. And all we need to do is what we've done before. We'll see if it autofills again. It seems like it's been consistently doing that. I don't know why, but it seems kind of buggy. There've been like Kopernicus updates every single day for the last like week. So maybe that has something to do with it. Maybe something is broken in Kopernicus, or I don't know if that even affects like ore mining. Maybe it does. I don't know. Regardless, we're back here on Gilly, and we're just going to jettison these tank contents. And there we go. It just autofills. That feels like a bug, but it doesn't really matter. Right? It would have passively filled anyway, so it's okay. So we're now going to head back to the Space Center now that we got those 2 contracts complete. We're not going to send a probe into the Julian atmosphere yet. That's going to be something that we'll do much, much later. But I just had a really dumb idea for how we can avoid lag on this. We know that one of these lifts off fine, right? So what if we literally just strapped all 5 of them together? This is a really stupid idea. Like, I think we're going to have space issues, but I want to look into it. This is really dumb, and this is not the way that we should do this, but that would, in theory, help reduce lag, because the lag seems to come in when we dock things together, like dock together very complicated ships, right? So what we would need to do is we would load up the dress outpost here. Now, this is going to require refueling, and space is definitely going to be at a premium here, but the idea is basically we get all of these to the same vertical level, and then we just strap on an additional one of these over here, complete with all of the lifting apparatus. It's really dumb, but I kind of want to see how that goes. So we're going to grab like a TD25. TD25 is way too big. We're going to grab like a TD06 decoupler and put it in over here. Now, these are going to have to be at pretty much the same height, right? And we're going to have to make sure that they decouple and that they decouple correctly when we actually detach this. No, we don't. We don't need to do this at all. Hang on. What am I doing? We don't need to do this. We can simply put a docking port on here. I don't know if these 1P2s are going to be enough. And are we going to run Clampatron docking ports? Probably. So that would go on here. This would go here. And we're going to be sitting on these docking ports. I don't know if that's going to give us, like, more friction. We have a friction issue on these cylinders, right? They like to slide. So maybe that would give us more friction and solve that problem. Or maybe it would just break. I don't know. Either way, it doesn't really matter. We'll be done with them by the time we get to the landing portion, right? So we put those on there. We would need to make sure that these have the same altitude. And that would be, like, right here. Okay, so this one would get dropped down to be, I think here is correct. Maybe one more tick down. Here. It would be here. Okay? And then this one would need to be moved up, of course. Right here should be nope. Right here should be correct. That looks good. And then there's this one. We're actually going to have to drop these down to this level, aren't we? We are indeed. Okay, so this should be dropped... Okay, let's position here for the time being. This would be dropped down to be roughly here? A little higher. About here. Hang on, just drawing that line. Yeah, that's about right. And then this one would be dropped down to be approximately here. And then this one would be dropped down. We can just compare it like this to this line here, right? So it would be right here. In theory, it would be something like this. And then we would extend this out. Is that enough space? I think it is. This is going to be stupid, though. This is going to be really stupid. So that was not what I wanted to do. Undo that. This gets extended out. This gets extended out. And this gets extended out. Like that. Okay. Now, while we're thinking about it, I do want to get all of these traverse rates turned down to 10. We know that they need to be turned down. We've been doing that manually every single time. It's a waste of time. Let's get that turned down. There we go. And this one here. Beautiful. Okay. So, at this point, the idea is basically we duplicate this whole thing. So I'm just going to do something like this. And we would need to attach it somewhere where it can be attached. This is not going to go together, right? So how do we want to do that? We'll need to, like, reroute the part and then unroute it. Doing something like this? I mean, there's that attach point there. We want it to come in like so, right? So hypothetically, my mouse was off screen there. Let's do it over here. So hypothetically, it's placed here, right? Oh, that's really close together. I mean, it would have to come this way for sure, but this guy's actually not extended. Okay. So hypothetically, I don't know how safe this really is here. These are going to be like ejecting into each other. This is really dumb. I mean, we already knew that, but this is like wonderfully dumb. So, how do we get this to attach in? We need to reroute it. So we reroute like that. And then we would need to save this as the... Apparently I can't... Okay, now I can rename it. As the Joule Multi Outpost. Okay. So, we're still going to require more fuel to get this thing to where we're going to go. We may want to consider not having this be fueled if we have to refuel anyway. That would lighten our load quite a lot. We're certainly going to have to refuel this thing later. So let's go ahead and make sure that that's saved. And we're going to merge in another Joule multi-outpost. This thing is going to be insane. I don't even know if my computer can handle this thing taking off. Okay. I loaded it. I meant to merge it. So the Joule multi-outpost merge. Like this. Okay, the struts are going crazy. This is not the direction I want it to turn. There we go. Something like this. So the struts went absolutely insane, right? Yeah, this is not necessarily great here. These are clearly not quite at the same height. And the struts are messed up, as are the fuel tanks. So that's noted. Do we think we can get away with not having these tanks here? I wish that the struts weren't messed up. Did that grab correctly? I don't think it did. I wanted to grab from here. So are the struts still messed up if we bring this around like so? Kinda, yeah. Kinda. So that would require some work, right? And we can see that this is already costing over $1 million. That's not shocking. That's not shocking at all. I mean, we have a lot of money, so it's probably not a concern. This is more of a hypothetical right now. I don't know how viable this really is. Now, struts are obviously an issue. I didn't grab that correctly. But this would be the 5 colonies that we need. And this would need to be rotated like this, and then brought up in here, like that. Okay, so obviously we're going to have some booms happening down here when these detach. We need to deal with all of the struts and all of the fuel ducts. Those are going to be a problem. But what is our thrust to weight here? 1.59, which is exactly what we expect, because this is just 5 identical colonies strapped together, right? So I'm going to save this. I'm going to put it on the pad. I expect immediate explosions, right? Actually, no, because these are all connected together. Right now, I don't expect immediate explosions. I do expect this thing to be very unstable. But I just want to see the chaos at this point, and how laggy it is. So let's see that. Lifting them all off at once is going to be very silly. That said, this is functionally just 5 identical rockets strapped together, right? So they should all be reasonably capable of independent flight. All of the thrust should be relatively symmetrical. We've got some height issues. We know about that. but the thrust should be relatively symmetrical. We're going to sit kind of skewed here, I think, because of our height issues. We'll see how that looks. And if we lift off here, we're definitely reverting it. This thing is very unfinished, right? Very, very unfinished. But this could theoretically get us... Oh my. Yeah, those struts are going to need some work. We appear to be falling over here. This is very laggy. Yeah, so obviously we're going to have to strut it together, right? We knew that that would happen. I'm more interested in the amount of lag there is and whether that lag would be better if our struts were actually functioning. So let's go ahead and put those struts on. Make sure that that's all working correctly. I'm a little bit saddened that they loaded in so wackily, particularly this one. Actually, let's just ditch this one. The other ones are better on the struts. They're not good, but they're better. So we'll just duplicate that and rotate that on over to here. There we go. And we definitely need to check these heights. So this height is correct. This height is not. So this guy needs to be moved a little bit, right? Specifically out over here. So we need to grab this, and we need to move this up like one tick. That's now correct. This one over here needs to be moved up as well. So we're going to grab this and move it up to be about here. That's now correct. This one needs to be moved up. So our eyeballing was definitely not ideal, but that's all good now. Okay, so now we need to go through and redo our strut work, right? So these struts, we want to be in quad symmetry, connect in up over here. And we're going to do the same ones 4 times in a row. So 1, 2, 3, and 4. So those struts are all fine. Do we need to redo the struts down here? It's hard to see. It is definitely hard to see, but I think they're okay. So obviously these fuel ducts need to be redone, right? That's very clear. I'm gonna get rid of this one, and we'll grab this one. There we go. This should be in quad symmetry still. That needs to flow in like this. We will duplicate that and bring this in like so. Okay, that'll need to happen for all of these. So we'll grab this one and bring it in. And this one's actually already in, but we're going to redo it because it's not correct on all of these. Well, that's strange. That's very strange. Okay, we definitely want these to be going this way though, right? So we're going to do that. That's more accurate. Good. Okay, so this one we want to be flowing this way. That was not what I wanted to grab. We'll undo that. A little bit laggy to undo it, that's for sure. Okay, there we go. And then we'll grab this guy, move it in like so. Oh, that did not go. Like so. Okay. We're as scrolled out as we can be right now. So I'm just double checking all of those. Those look acceptable. So we're then doing the same thing out over here. Cool. Those all look acceptable. And these should be done as well. Cool. So now, of course, we're going to have to strut together at the bottom and at the top. So let's go ahead and grab some strut connectors. I'm going to strut these together. And that should have strutted it together for all of these, I think, just based on symmetry. Things are going to be a little weird, but we're going to strut these together. Okay, can't quite see what's going on over here, but these need to be strutted together. as do these. So they're clipped together. They're probably going to destroy themselves the moment they separate. I have no idea what that booster stage separation is going to look like. It's going to be real interesting. I can tell you that right now. Okay, now I'm also going to strut together. Ooh, I don't like that. Okay, cancel this. We're going to grab this. We're going to strut together up here. We already have these struts. So I'm going to just do single symmetry here. We're going to strut this over all the way like this if we can reach. We cannot reach. Okay, that's fine. So the idea behind these struts, of course, and there's a lot of them here, the idea behind these struts was intended to be making sure that there's a strength to the joint here, right? So that needs to come in about like that. There we go. And then we will get rid of these struts. And then add strength to this joint. Okay. Get rid of these struts and add strength to this joint. And get rid of these struts and add strength to this joint. We need to move up. That wasn't quite where we wanted to be. Yeah, that's more like it. Cool. Okay, now we're going to need to strut these together. These will probably have to be removed by engineers in flight. So, this strut is simply intended to solidify this connection a little bit. Just this singular strut. We'll see how that goes. And then we'll put this out on the pad. We'll see how much wiggling we have. Probably a lot. And then we will see how much explosions we have on the pad. And then we'll try a liftoff, which is going to be ridiculous. But with our struts better put together, I'm not going to call them perfect, but better put together, actually we can see right now that these struts need to be redone. And we don't have these struts out here, which we probably should, realistically. So we're going to put these struts up on all of these as well. We did get rid of these earlier, but we'll definitely put them in. Okay. So we'll just attach this here and here. Maybe something like this. Yeah, that'll do. And then out here, something like that. We just want to make sure that all of this is strutted together so that it doesn't wiggle all over the place, right? That is our primary goal here. Now, we don't need to have all of these out here extended to full extension. But I think they're okay. Yeah, I think they're okay. We can deal with that later if we need to. So let's save this monstrosity. This is an absolute monstrosity. And let's put this out on the pad. This is ridiculous. And I think this is officially the most monstrous thing I've ever created in KSP. This is horrific. Absolutely bad. But I want to see if it flies. If it does, this could save us a lot of time. We're going to need to get a lot of fuel up to it. That's going to be real interesting. I have no idea what the staging on this thing looks like. That's something that's going to require some work. The real question, though, is that SRB decouple. Do those two SRBs that are essentially, or I guess the 4 SRBs per module that are essentially joined together, clipped into each other, do they just instantly destroy each other and we don't have to worry about them? That would be interesting. So we're going to load this thing in and see how laggy it is. It might be super laggy. Judging by how long it's taking to load, that's not looking good. Okay, we immediately start to see some crackening going on over here. And explosions happening over here. As apparently SRBs are falling off. Okay. I'm not sure why the SRBs are falling off, but the SRBs are falling off. Presumably because we're off the pad, right? Like, the pad is too small for this rocket. That's I think, the problem here. So we may actually want to have this thing on the runway. So we're going to go back to vehicle assembly here. The runway might be the correct takeoff location for this. That's exciting. It's definitely too big for the pad. So we would need to move this into the VAB and make sure that it is correctly rotated. The VAB likes to be up being forward, I believe. But let's switch this over into the VAB. And see if it freezes. It looks like our staging is about right. Okay, so this is the spaceplane hangar. It's obviously too tall for the spaceplane hangar, right? There's no doubt about that. But what if we just put it out on the runway? Is the runway large enough for this monstrosity? If this doesn't work, we can assemble it in orbit. I'm still concerned, for sure, about the frame rate with this thing on. That said, as parts detach, it will get better. Marginally. Definitely marginally. But let's see what we've got on the runway instead of on the launch pad. Because this thing is just too big for the launch pad. We'll also see if the game crashes. That's a possibility. If it does, we have this all saved. It's no big deal. And no, looks like we're loading in. Excellent. I'm also noticing we certainly seem to have some strut failures in holding up our modules under this gravity. So that's a potential issue. Yeah, like the amount of wiggling around that's happening over here, that's very Kraken-y. Very, very Kraken-y. Okay. This is a simulated launch, but I want to watch the train wreck. I guarantee you this is going to be a train wreck. This frame rate is abysmal, but I want to see how this goes. Oh my. Oh my, indeed. What do we think about a gravity turn? I'm thinking a gravity turn is probably not in the cards with what we've got going on here. Oh, look at that guy go. Yep, we're definitely having some of our SRBs detach. So we're probably going to have to replace the SRBs, right? I think that's pretty obvious at this point. I like how this one is just continuing to push us up. We knew this would be a train wreck, right? We absolutely knew that. I just love it. This is quite a spectacle. Excellent. This is amazing. This is the kind of content that I'm after. Definitely. Oh boy. So obviously we need to rework the SRB setup, right? I think otherwise this is reasonably workable. So this was always going to be reverted. There's no doubt about that. We managed to get about 600 meters up, which was better than I expected, to be honest. Oh, wow, look at that. Oh, I love it. Amazing. This was always going to be a massive train wreck. Okay, let's go ahead and revert this back to the spaceplane hangar. We're going to put it back into the VAB, which is actually tall enough to work on this, unlike the spaceplane hangar. We can't really manipulate this in the spaceplane hangar, but we're going to have to take off all of the SRBs and rework where they are and what they're doing. That's fine. That's not a big deal. So we're going to move this back into the VAB. It is time to put a cut in here, so I'm going to go ahead and do that. And next episode, I will have a reworked form for the SRBs to be in. Obviously, this was always going to cause issues, although I didn't expect the SRBs to just detach the way that they were. But yeah, we'll take all of these off. We'll have a redesigned SRB setup in the next episode. You can leave your offerings to the engagement gods in the form of likes, comments, subscribes, and bell ringings, and a very special thank you to all of the channel members for making this video possible, including ALS Gamer, Kentuin, James, Shadowwolf, Mlohan80, Kentogan, Nick Smarty, Dimitri H, Punching the Microphone, Spartan News, Unisil, Rogue Corvid, and all the rest. And of course, you. Thank you for watching. If you'd like to support the channel, you can click the join button down below the video, and as always, I will see you all next time.